Welcome to the Point. Jessica Drude talks with Dick Heller on what it really took to defend the Second Amendment. Let's get to the point.
Hello, I'm Jessica Drude, and welcome to the Point. Today we have a very special guest with us. We have Dick Heller. Dick Heller has brought forth a case through the Supreme Court, and he has forever changed our Second Amendment rights here in America. And I am so pleased to have him here with us today. And we're going to be discussing who he is, what he has done, and what we can do here in Rhode Island. I know we're frustrated as Rhode Islanders as to what's happening at our state house. And this is just one issue, our Second Amendment issue, that is just so important to all of us. And we'd like to discuss with him what we can do and how we can change it. So I'm very grateful today to have Dick Heller with us to talk about the court cases, what you've done, who you are. So thank you so much.
Okay, you can see I'm chuckling like crazy because I get all these accolades. And in the very beginning, I have to say, I get the accolades, but the people that did all the work was the lawyers. It took years and millions of dollars of costs for them to produce the case. Me, I just stopped drinking beer, chasing girls, and driving fast cars and watching television when they said I couldn't have a gun in 1956. So I figured I better go buy a gun and try to get it registered. And that's about all I did to get it started. And of course, we had 20 cases after that.
So it was 1976.
Yes, and the message is that any person that just gets off the couch and refocus their attention can accomplish something.
That's right. So all of us, just regular Joes that are at home getting frustrated, we can make a change.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that because, you know, sometimes we feel frustrated and what can I do? I'm just a person that goes to work every day, steps in each footprint, goes to work, comes home, and here I am getting my rights taken away.
You're doing great things. You're the First Amendment that's getting our message out. It's fabulous.
Well, thank you so much. So the first thing I want to ask you, Dick, is about these two hats. You have two hats on.
Yes, interestingly, I have two hats on. Usually when I walk into a speech, I have 3 or 4 hats on. I left my Gun Owners of America hat in the other car, so I don't have it. So that takes care of one of them. But this is my favorite hat. And can you see it on camera? It says Trump attitude. Well, that came a little later after my original hat, which is my real favorite. Trump says, "Make America great again." I say, "Please, Trump, make America free again."
You know, when you say "make America free again," we the people, the law-abiding citizens that get trained, need to have the right to defend ourselves.
You're certainly right. There are not enough of us. And as an example, I don't know how many people know that there are not enough of us and that a lot of more people would like to be. People probably are not aware that approximately, it's like herding cats, it's a very hard number to calculate, and you can't calculate, you can only just generally guess what it is with research. 2 million people a year have to use a firearm defensively. 2 million times. Now, what happened in about 1992, when the gun epidemic was starting to be discussed by the liberal media, the NIH paid Gary Kleck of University of Florida $10 million to do research to come up with that 2 million times a year number. And they said, oh my God, Americans having firearms in citizens' hands is more important and needy than ever. So what do you think the National Institute of Health did with the study? They buried it.
I was going to say
They buried it. Yes, they buried it. And it just came out. I stumbled on it just a couple of years ago as somebody else had found it. And boy, I make sure everybody hears that number. okay? That's our government at work for us.
Yeah, and that's why we need good people in office and good people to stand up and people to step out and say, we need to defend our rights. I know that you are 101st Airborne Division
Yes.
veteran, so I thank you for your service. And if you could talk about, as a veteran, you say you're just a regular Joe, but we all know that there's more to the story. So,
I'm glad you said that because I would have never brought it up. Does this show up on camera?
yes.
Okay, good. I was jumping out of airplanes as a Screaming Eagle paratrooper at 17 and a half. And so when I did my 3 years, it never occurred to me that to own a gun, there was never a need for it back in the 60s. I got out in 62, I think, 61. And so I didn't have a gun. And then in 1976, when DC passed the law that said you can no longer own a gun, turn them in or burn them or go to jail, I said, none of those sound attractive. I better go buy a gun. Because I had like 3 months before it took effect. So I got the firearm. It was a Western gun, kind of similar to this. It was long 9-inch barrel called a Longhorn, like a bunt line. And so then I said, I got off the couch, all right, and went to buy a gun. I drove to America to buy my gun from DC. And then it would make a lot of people gasp today. I drove back across the frontier, which is called the state line, into the socialist DC. And but there were no laws back then. Mm-hmm. All right, so now I would be in torture cuffs, right? So I spent the next almost 20 years, I call it crying in the wilderness, to use a phrase. In Washington, and back in that day, we had phone books that were about this tall, and there was a whole list of think tanks in Washington. And I went down the list and called think tanks and went to visit because they all had open houses. There was no terrorists around. You could just walk in, and I visited a lot of think tanks. And I happened to run across Cato. I happened to run across Heritage. And I wasn't even political. I said, hey, these guys sound better than the Democrats. So it ended up that Heritage and Cato started supporting the idea. And short version of the story is myself and 6 others through the Cato Foundation, a Cato Institute, brought the case eventually. But what happened is it was a long journey because somewhere along there I met a fellow that was a pilot who was a medical doctor after he came back from Vietnam combat. And he, interestingly, I don't know how long you want to take this, but he left the doctor profession because the government was interfering with his patient-doctor relationship about the same time I walked away from the stockbroker business. Because I read, I think it was Clinton's laws, and I was reading the regulations. I said, if I sell you a postage stamp, that's a government instrument, they could throw me in jail. I said, I got to get out of here. So it so happens we met in Washington, and we teamed up, and I then was able to get him into Georgetown Law School, and he says, I don't want to graduate, I just want to get a degree, and so I can learn how to bring a gun case, because he was an Olympic shooter on the 1980 American Olympic shooting team. So we bonded real fast. And so we got him through law school. That was part of that 20 years. Yep. And then I got him into the Heritage Foundation because I had been going there, and the Cato, and just, you build a network. For anyone that's frustrated, when you get off your couch, just build your network. You don't know what talent is out there.
Yes.
It's amazing. So, I mean, look at me. I just suck my thumb, drink beer, drive cars, watch TV, right?
Well, but you made your network.
I built a network. I rest my case.
Yes.
Thank you. So then we got the lawyers, and they did all the work.
Yep.
And the rest is, most of it is history. Of course, there's 20 other cases in history that nobody knows about, but that's another story.
Yeah.
That's another 10 minutes.
So your case, just so that people understand, the case DC versus Heller. So what was in your case? How did you get it from, you made your network and they helped, I'm sure, but how did you get your case to move forward? Was there a pivotal point? Was there someone that how did that all kind of come about besides your network?
The time was ripe. That's a word that lawyers use, because we were worried about getting a number of liberal judges in, and it just, everything, the political pressures and the timing just seemed we had to do it now. So, Cato Institute collected 6 plaintiffs with different backgrounds, with different reasons for wanting to be armed, and one of them was a young lady that lived in the ghetto side of town. She had kids, and she was sick and tired. Another person getting off the couch. She was sick and tired of the drug dealers running her street. So she was calling the cops on them, and they threatened to burn her house down. She says, and kill her kids. She says, I need a gun. Okay? And of course she was denied, so she was a perfect plaintiff, right? And then some other people were hunters, and I was a cop. Okay? I happened to work at the Supreme Court building at the time. So the Washington Post wrote a little article, said, it did not go unnoticed by the justices that Mr. Heller was one of their security guards in the annex that guarded their life. I thought that was kind of cute.
So here you are, special police officer for DC, able to have a gun on you all day long, but at home, you can't protect yourself.
It's like Barney Fife in Mayberry. Barney gets his gun and they give him his bullet and he puts it in his pocket, right? And when he's off duty, he pulls out his bullet and goes home. Well, that's the way it was there. This is profound in that I'm a little slow, but I finally figure out after a few years that they give me a gun to protect the government, but I can't even own a gun, even though we have a Second Amendment, to protect my household. And then, like I say, eventually the light bulb came on, and I realized, and people don't like to hear this, folks, but I realized that we lived in a two-tiered society, not unlike the old Soviet Union. And I was the bottom tier under the elite tier. How's that?
Yeah, well, that's where the average Joes kind of lay. I mean, I think we all kind of feel that way. So
now that we know, and the world knows, we have to make the two ends meet.
Yes.
All right. So and what's interesting, if you want some more history on that case, is, and can I tell my Tennessee story?
Sure.
I told you that story, right? Okay. In 1841, there was a situation in the state of Tennessee. Now, this 150 years ago. 150 years. Yeah. And there was a man named Aymet, Aymettee, if you want to look it up. And so Aymet and his buddy and some whiskey and a Bowie knife and a bar all got into a fuzzball. So whatever happened went to court.
Yep.
And the Tennessee Supreme Court, apparently Aymet had the money to work his way up through the courts. The Tennessee Supreme Court heard the case and said, and here's the phrase, and I don't know if I have it written down there, but I have it by heart. It said, it is important that we state why civilian populations must know. It is important that civilians must know why military-grade weapons are in the hands of civilians. 3 reasons. Number 1, to maintain law and order. Number 2, to hold in awe Please note that word, AWE, to hold in awe, to hold in awe those who are in power. And number three is to protect the force and power of our Constitution. And that was awesome. It was just a mental breakthrough for me. And so that was 1841. When I discovered it in one of my lawyer's briefs, I said, why hasn't that phraseology been front and center to the normal all citizens? Mm-hmm. Why isn't it public? And I said, surely in the 1939 sawed-off shotgun Miller case,
yep.
Surely they would have mentioned that there. And my lawyer's brief said it did not go unnoticed by the Miller court of the IMET decision. And I said, oh my gosh, if Miller used it, Scalia must have used it. But I read all 153 pages of the Scalia decision and the dissent. I never even noticed the word IMET. I said, something's wrong here. Certainly Scalia would have used that level of tradition, text, and history, right? So I took the decision, I put it into Word, yep. And I did a word count. Nobody ever guesses how many times that word "I met" showed up. 17 times. I slapped myself in the face and said, no, it didn't. So I did it again.
Yep.
And so I don't say 17 anymore. I said it showed up more than a dozen times.
Yep.
And that has not been paraded or even mentioned in any way by the liberal press. And I don't understand why Fox News never picked up on that phraseology. Why military-grade weapons are in the hands of civilians. Okay? And
yep.
AR-15 that's restricted here in Rhode Island isn't even a military-grade weapon. Mark Robinson, in his delivery to North Carolina legislature, or Greensboro, North Carolina legislature, said, it's funny, he says, y'all trying to ban AR-15s? He says, shuck, if you went to war with that, you wouldn't last 10 minutes. And you know, if you think about it, as if anybody's ever fired an M1 Garand from the World War II, that's a military-grade weapon. That will go through a tree.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll
yep.
make a dent in a tank.
Yeah.
An AR-15 won't make a dent in a tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's a .22.
What's the biggest misconception in your court case that people have?
That's a cute question, because here it is, 14, or is it 18? 14? I don't know.
Was it 2008?
Okay.
So
18, so it's about 14, 15, yep. 16, 17 years, yeah. 32 years since it happened, I guess.
Yep. Since
I started. People still come up to me when I meet strangers, and if they're from Texas or something, they kind of say, can y'all have guns here in D.C. yet? Where are you from? Texas? The question wouldn't even come up in Texas, right?
Right, yeah. Exactly.
But people that have lived in D.C. their whole life don't know they can be armed.
So
unbelievable.
Yeah,
is that a good answer?
That's a good answer. But one of my misconceptions was that court case in D.C. translated to the rest of the country, which it did not.
Well, here's what happened. There was a gun group that, when the case was over, I went home and watched television, right, to see what happened. And there was a person that said, that Heller team, they must be communists. They didn't ask for machine guns and bazookas and jet airplanes. And I was watching it on video.
Jet airplane, that sounds...
Yeah. So I said, and I knew these people, and they knew me. So I rewind and say, maybe it'll be different, right? Insanity. So that Heller team, they must be communists. They didn't even ask for machine guns and bazookas and the jet airplanes, fighter jets. And that's when I figured I better start learning something, right? So I eventually learned that when you go to court, you only get what you ask for. So you only ask for one thing, you only get one thing. So the way we've structured all of our approach is we only ask for one new item at a time.
Okay.
Okay. For instance, when they said you can't have all these weapons in D.C., I said, well, you cannot have a rifle with a pistol grip stock on it. So I said, well, let me get the smallest gun I can get with a pistol grip, a little 22 Ruger 1022, and surprised me. They registered it. I couldn't believe it because they're not supposed to. And I said, well, maybe they did it for me. I don't know. So about a year later, I said, maybe it's time for my AR that I've had in West Virginia, my armorers for like 14 years. Maybe it's time, okay? So I said, ship it down to the FFL. And long story short, it got registered. And I said, oh my gosh. And then I went on to well, we won't talk about it.
So
Another gun.
yeah, so because did they change the legislation there?
No, but the next
They
person
translated the court case differently? I'm just wondering.
maybe it was incompetence, maybe it was an oversight, maybe it was an accident.
Okay.
Maybe it was because of the brand name. We don't know.
Okay.
Okay. But when I went to register my third gun, which is a sawed-off shotgun by DC regulations, they said, oh, handgun, okay, goes over here, we'll call you in 30 to 60 days. 48 hours later, my approval, my certificate was in the mail. Wow, I think it's because of the brand name.
Okay. So
And that's the first time that's gone public. Just for you, my dear.
oh, thank you.
Just for Rhode Island.
Awesome. So, yeah, being here in Rhode Island, we're under, we have a lot of progressive liberals at the State House. And I don't even think that they really understand, guns, the different type of guns, what is actually, in the hands of a legal citizen.
May I bring up a point?
Yes, please do.
How many of them are gun owners and they are aware?
Well, that's the thing. That I know because we see them at the gun range sometimes, and I'm like, so here they are shooting, but they're taking our rights away in a legislation. So that there is a disconnect there too. I don't know if they don't understand what they're doing.
Don't kid yourself.
Okay.
In Washington, D.C., my instructor instructs Democrats on gun ownership and concealed carry.
Okay, so
And they pass the laws, the anti-gun laws.
so what's the
Power.
is that what it is?
It's about power. We are minions. Remember, two-tiered society?
Yep.
Not unlike the old Soviet Union?
So what's okay for them is not okay for us.
That's right. We're lucky we don't have to go to commissaries. In New York City, they're going to commissaries now instead of the free market to buy food. You know how that's going to end.
Yeah.
But
I
that's
know.
another tax issue.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah,
but
I looked into a lawsuit on that today. Why my my tax money will end up bailing them out.
Right. What I see really is we need to win our seats. The people at the State House need to be changed out because we need people that understand common sense, Constitution rights, and to change the laws so that law-abiding citizens have the right to protect ourselves because this is what keeps America safe.
It is the nature of man to be free. And to be free, you must be able to protect your household.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to protect your household against a thug with a gun with something less than what they have.
That's
baseball
right.
bat.
That's right.
A rock.
That's right. And there was a gentleman who came to one of our meetings. He was from Cuba, and he talked about the takeover of socialism. And the first thing they did was take away their right to arm themselves.
Certainly.
So
Certainly.
here we are in Rhode Island. We have to, we, meaning us average Joes, the regular people of Rhode Island, we need to step up. This is an election year. We can make a change. And, to get to the point, you have here the Rhode Island first hat. We need to put Rhode Island first. Rhode Islanders need to put themselves first and defend our rights. And in order to do that, we need to change the people at the State House.
To supplement your point, did you catch, did it go noticed or unnoticed by the general population? I'm sure media did not cover it. But after the Russian invasion, the Ukrainian government was handing out ARs as fast as they could. Women were coming, I need an AR. All the guys, we need an AR. And now they've held off a superpower for 4 years now.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they became armed.
Exactly. Yep,
Okay? And
absolutely.
We don't want to go there. We don't want to be there in America.
No.
Okay?
No. Yep. And we have the largest population of regular folks that are trained on how to use a firearm. That keeps America safe. So.
All the world knows, what was I forgot the general. Slipped my mind right now. Usually I remember, was it Yamamoto? Was that a general, an admiral?
Sounds like it.
Was that? Yeah. Anyway, he's the one that said, our emperors would be fools to invade America. There is a rifle behind every blade of grass.
I love that.
The Asians have a way of expressing things.
Yes.
I'm married to an Asian, and they think differently and express differently, and it's beautiful.
I love that.
Behind every blade of grass,
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming, Dick Heller. This has been a pleasure to meet you, to hear your story, to hear how, as Rhode Islanders, we can be inspired to step up and make a difference. So thank you so much for joining us on To The Point.
Madam, patriotism and chivalry must return.
Amen. Thank you so much. And join us again, like and subscribe our videos, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
This has been To The Point. For more episodes and information, visit tothepointri.com. We'll see you next time.